I see you all are getting tired and in need of a coffee. I am going to keep it short. Everyone has, of course, touched upon the topic. I have been told that there are some people here as well from the Enactus Student Society. I have been also told they have been very helpful in arranging this with us. So thank you to them and their team. Also, thank you to my fellow speakers who have come all the way from different areas in Europe. And also yesterday the speakers we have, and of course you people, thank you for coming. I will, with such, yesterday we had a few experts and scholars in this field. Today we have people who have spent their lifetime struggling against terrorism and radicalization. So I find myself being a bit out of place to anyhow contribute anything further to this issue. But what I do want to tell is that, as you see behind me, the map of Jammu and Kashmir, to give you a bit of sense and maybe context. This area is just almost as big as the United Kingdom. The distance between where I live, which is Srinagar, which is in the Indian administered part of Jammu and Kashmir, to the capital of Pakistan administered part of Jammu and Kashmir is 125 kilometers, which is, maybe just a little bit over from Amsterdam to Rotterdam, which you will do in an hour. If I wish to go to Muzaffarabad, I probably will have to take a flight via Dubai. I cannot cover those 125 kilometers because we have been divided. And before coming here, and even before starting EFSAS, many people had asked me, why are you doing this? And I feel that, and why am I speaking to you today? I believe there rests a responsibility on each one of you. You all are privileged, as I have been privileged. I was born in this area, but I was 4 or 5 years old when I came here. I had the privilege to live in a free, open society. I had the privilege to get an education, and I had the privilege to live a life with all democratic freedoms which any free society would promise me. But how unprivileged would I have been if I would have used all these privileges just for my own selfish interests? Money is important in life. Career is important in life. But it's not everything. Conscious is important in life. What do you do with these privileges you have? I see many people coming who do not at the first glance look Dutch to me. You come from different places in the world, but you have the privilege to study in this society. What are you going to do with this privilege? Sometimes I feel that, had the state of Jammu and Kashmir been in the heart of Europe, like Ukraine, maybe things would have been different. Sometimes I also feel that there are some people from the Afghan belt. Sometimes I feel that for Afghanistan, had Afghanistan been Mexico,
things might have been different. So this, what I've also been told, that in Actis there's a lot of helps youngsters, students with startups. What do you want to start up? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Like I said, money is important, but money is not everything. What I feel, why we started EFSAS, why we are doing this here at the university, why do we go to the UN, why do we go to the European Parliament? Basically to promote a narrative against all other narratives which are there. Everyone has the freedom to promote a narrative. It's your task to look at all these narratives and decide for yourself which one makes sense to you. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to you that the invasion of Ukraine is wrong, but the invasion of Afghanistan or the invasion of Jammu and Kashmir is right? Does it make sense to you that children in Ukraine are dying, but does it make sense that children in Kashmir, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in South Asia are dying for the last 75 years because of a terrorism policy which has been devised and used over and over again? Why is no one talking about that? Why is there no narrative in the news, if you watch the news? No, why is no one asking that in 2001 we went to Afghanistan to get rid of terrorism, in 2022 we left the country to the same people? Why is there no accountability for all the people who died? Why is there no accountability for all the drones, for all the children who were killed, for the girls who cannot go to school today? And we have been experiencing this in Jammu and Kashmir since the last 75 years. Because terrorism, look, first of all, you know, there is no clear-cut definition of terrorism, at least not by the UN or not agreed upon by all countries or by an international platform. But to my mind, terrorism is not just, you know, putting on a suicide vest and blowing yourself up. Terrorism is not throwing a grenade. Terrorism is not just carrying a Kalashnikov and killing people. Real terrorism, real radicalization starts much, much earlier, and that is narratives. Narratives is where terrorism starts. Do you blame? And that's where we need to go to. We, of course, for our own conscience, for our collective conscience, imagine being an attack in any Western capital, and we get hold of the terrorist, and it turns out that a 17, 18-year-old boy who was put in a madrasa when he was 6, who was taught this narrative, and we will, you know, we will put him to trial. If there is a country in the world where they still give death penalty, we'll probably hang him for everything that he did. But we will not get to the source. We will not get to the madrasa being operated by a cleric who's being supported, funded by a state, by a policy. That is the root cause. That is the narrative building. That is where we need to explain to the world, to these people, that you can keep killing terrorists, but that will not kill terrorism. You can keep killing radicalized individuals, but that will not kill radicalization. You have to go to, as was mentioned here earlier, it is the fight between the progressive forces and between the radical forces. What we need to do, I hope that someone of you might come up with a startup, might come up with an organization, might come up with something which will take it a step further than I did, than EFSAS did. And then maybe when you will sit here and give a lecture 10 years from now, 20 years from now, someone in the audience might take it a further step further. The process of radicalization in our region, because of the context of where we live, because of the history where we live, in many ways that is, it's hero worship. If you go, you read books, you read in their own words by an American scholar, I guess it is Christine Fair, who describes how Lashkar-e-Toiba people in Lashkar-e-Toiba is basically a Punjabi organization, a terrorist organization. They're not Kashmiri, but they fight in Kashmir. They're basically an asset of the state of Pakistan. And she has been researching this, and she wrote this in her book, and she says how, and that's the narrative building of radicalization, and that's what needs to be countered, is that how Lashkar-e-Toiba openly recruits youngsters to go and fight in Kashmir. And how many of these parents are proud of that recruitment, how they celebrate that they have been recruited, how they will celebrate their death, and then that they will go and enter some paradise. Imagine you have, I think none of you have children, but you probably have younger brothers and sisters. Imagine that. Imagine you being a father, a mother, an elder brother, an elder sister, being happy at the killing, at the destruction of a young life. And that is where the change needs to be done. Killing these youngsters, that's of course you need to kill someone who's holding a Kalashnikov, but that's not the solution of the problem. We need to find alternative narratives, and we need to promote these at these places, and we need to hold those people accountable who have the strings in their hands. These young children, these are pawns, just like Kashmir has been a pawn in this great game between the Britishers, between India, between Pakistan, between China. We have been used as pawns. I cannot meet my family living on the other side of the LOC while it's a 125 kilometers road trip. The same way goes on the other side. People living on this line which has divided this land. I remember cases where someone of one village, a family has been divided, and there is this river going through. And they would, when someone would be killed on the Indian side, they would hold the body up so that their relatives on the Pakistani side could still have a last look at their brother who died. And look at Europe. Look at Europe. In Europe, we were killing each other, 75 years ago? We were bombing each other, we were decapitating each other. If you look at the history of Europe, there's no other history which has been as violent as Europe's history has been. And today, came from Switzerland without a passport, just an ID card. No one checked on the border. Belgium. You people, you want to go to Belgium, Germany, you can go this morning, come back in the evening. While just, 30 years ago, you couldn't move from East Berlin to West Berlin. We have moved on. And this is exactly what we need to do in South Asia. There's no merit in getting killed for anything. There's no merit in killing for anything. There's merit in living. There's merit in living a joyful life, a peaceful life. And that is where we need to get into South Asia. We're basically the same people. India and Pakistan and Bangladesh were just 75 years ago one country. We have the same languages, we have the same culture, we have the same food habits. Why can't we live together? And that is what I would like to give you people before we end here. And that it's not bound by geography. Don't do it for Kashmir, don't do it for South Asia, do it for any other place you are interested in. Because then we will have partners doing it for other places. You will be our partners, we will be your partners, and that's how narratives are built. But let's not forget that we need to hold accountable those people, those powers, those states who promote a radical narrative, who use pawns for their state policy, who kill people, who get people killed. Because if terrorists are worthy of getting killed, what punishment would you accord to those who use them as terrorists? So I'll leave you with that thought, and I hope maybe someone here would, still out of my own personal interest, would maybe think of doing a thesis on this, or writing a paper on this, and do that independently. Don't do it with me, don't do it with EFSAS. But then I will think that I had a small success because I persuaded someone to build a narrative somewhere in a university, write something which someone will take up 10 years from now and learn from it. Hopefully that will happen. And if not, I'll keep coming back. Thank you.